In today's video, we're going to talk about 4 tips that's going to help you lower your scores by 10 shots. So 4 tips that's going to be essential to lowering your scores by 10 shots. Feel free to smash that like button on the video. The more likes the video can get, the more exposure it can get, and the more golfers I can help in the long run. Also, if you want to receive daily content, please feel free to subscribe to the channel. One of the biggest things we do see with any level of golfer in the backswing is the right arm gets a little bit too disconnected from the left arm. So if you think about your sternum in the middle of your chest relative to where your hands are, your shoulders and hands create a triangle. So from your left shoulder to your left hand, then right shoulder all the way to your right hand. Create, establish and maintain that triangle all the way through the backswing and in the downswing. What we do see with a lot of golfers, if you think about the right elbow relative to the right side of your rib cage, right-handed golfers become a little bit too much right-hand dominant. And what does that functionally mean? So as we start to take the golf club back, this right arm pulls back a little bit, so it retracts a little bit too far behind the right side of the rib cage. So the right elbow gets too far behind the right side of the rib cage, throws the right shoulder into too much internal rotation. So as we work the club back, that right elbow retracts, club head gets severely inside. Not pulling the right shoulder back, we're pushing the left shoulder forward, but it's going to move across to be functionally in the middle of your stance. So your left shoulder is going to move forward and across. The right hand on the back of your left shoulder. We're not pulling back with the right shoulder, we're pushing the left shoulder down and then across. So the left shoulder is going to push down and then across. That's going to maintain the tilts in the shoulders. It's going to feel the left shoulder a little bit closer to the ground. Pulling the left shoulder across. So we're pulling the left shoulder down and then across. As you can see from there, that's going to enable my right shoulder to go back. It's going to enable my right hip to go back, as opposed to just pulling that right shoulder back. When we do that, we get really narrow, we get a little bit out of position. We're going to connect the grip end of the club into our stomach. From here, we're going to maintain that triangle in the shoulders and the hands. If we break that triangle down, you'll soon feel it with the grip end of the club on your stomach. So grip end of the club into your stomach, right hand on the left shoulder. We're just going to make some swings back. And for the first couple of feet that the hands move, you're just going to feel like you start rotating your abdominals and also the upper sternum, so there's slight rotation in your lower and upper body. And from here, I should feel like my lower body and my upper body start to rotate. I maintain that triangle and I'm pulling my left shoulder across. So I'm pulling my left shoulder down and then across. As you can see from here, I'm allowing the upper body and the lower body to start rotating. If I don't do that, the club starts to get disconnected. Grip end of the club to disappear behind your body. So grip end of the club is a reference point to your right shoulder, club head is your left shoulder. Swing the club back, head to point towards the golf ball, grip end of the club to disappear. This rotation that everyone wants to achieve. Tip number 2 that we want to establish at address is think about the position in your right arm. So what you're going to do is you're going to establish the position between both elbows at address. So my left elbow is connected to close proximity to my left hip. My right elbow is connected to my right hip. What we don't want to do is we want to get the right elbow too far behind the left elbow, like we're starting a lawnmower. That's going to create a disconnection between the arms and body. You've heard this analogy before. What you want to do is you want to feel like you're giving blood with the right arm. That's just going to enable the right arm to function more proficiently in the backswing. What we don't want to do is have the right arm too much on top of the left arm like this, where the right palm's too much down towards the ground. And you can see that right elbow pointing away from my right hip. The club back, it's not going to allow that right elbow to function properly. Arms too much on top of the left arm, you'll start to see a rolling of the arms, you'll start to see too much forearm rotation, and that's going to cause the club face to open. Elbows into the side of your rib cage. From there, right palm, left palm face the sky. You're just going to feel like you're giving blood. So as I get the golf club from here, my right palm and forearm are still facing the sky. Then I'm just going to twist my right hand so it's connecting itself to the left hand. So connect your right hand to the grip. As you can see from there, my right elbow is now pointing straight down towards my right hip. That's just going to allow the elbow to point down towards the right hip in the backswing. It's going to enable this right arm to fold efficiently, as if you're carrying a box. You're going to connect both elbows to the side of your rib cage, just in front of the rib cage, not actually physically connected to the rib cage. Allow my right palm, so I'm giving blood, then I'm just going to allow my right palm to connect itself to the golf club and the target. As we swing the club back, checkpoint number 1, where the shaft of the golf club matches the angle of your feet line. We're trying to move the left shoulder down and across. and we're trying to allow that right elbow to fold so the right elbow stays in front of the right hip. So I feel like my left shoulder moves down across. That's feeling number one. By the time the club gets to parallel position, where the shaft's parallel to the ground, my right elbow is going to stay connected to my right hip. So right elbow in front of the right hip. What we're going to talk about is making sure that we can maintain the gap between both elbows. So the gap we create in dress, that gap's going to start to increase as we get to the top of the backswing. But then as we come into impact, it's going to start to decrease. So keeping the elbows relatively close together is going to help you function your golf swing more efficiently, and it's also going to help you improve your impact position. Then as we get to the top of the backswing, try and feel that you maintain that gap for the duration of the backswing. Elbows pointing down at my right hip, my left elbow's pointing down towards the ground. As soon as we start to elevate that left elbow from the ground, as you can see, that connects my left arm to get really low compared to my shoulder plate. Still feel that left shoulder's pulling down across. We're going to set the club in position so the shaft of the club matches the angle of my feet line. So my right elbow is pointing down towards my right hip. From here, my left elbow is pointing down, so the back of my left elbow is pointing down towards the ground. Then as we get to the top of the backswing, as I swing the club to the top, right elbow still points down towards right hip. Then as I swing the club fully to the top, my hands are higher than the position of my shoulders. That gap's going to increase into the backswing because we're adding a little bit more elevation in the hands and the body rotation. But then as we come into impact, what we want to feel like we are going to do is the gap is going to start to decrease. This feeling of shallow in the golf club, or this feeling of functioning the right arm properly, where that right arm is going to stay flexed or bent for as long as possible into the downswing, then it's going to start to straighten. That's a power accumulator that's going to help us enable us to make ball turf contact. As the right elbow gets too far behind the right side of the ribcage. So if you think about the hand and the elbow gets too far behind the hand, and as you can see from there, the right palm goes down towards the ground, and that's what's going to cause the shaft to get really steep. So as we get to the top of the backswing, a way to mimic this is your right elbow is going to go back, my right palm is going to go down towards the ground, and then that's where the shaft starts to steepen. Trying to get the right elbow to catch up with the left elbow in the downswing. How does that look? My right elbow feels like it tries to connect itself to the left elbow in the downswing. That's going to allow the right arm to stay a little bit more behind the left arm. That's going to enable the right shoulder to stay back behind the left shoulder. And that's going to enable me to keep my back to the target. The right elbow moves ahead of the right hip. That's going to maintain the flex in the right arm. It's going to enable the elbow to work ahead of the wrist. As soon as that right elbow starts to go back, we create a very weak impact position. Up, right elbow moves ahead of right hip. So right elbow ahead of right hip. Elbow is always working ahead of the wrist, and the wrist is always working ahead of the fingertips. Elbow's going to catch up with left elbow, right elbow to left elbow, and as you can see from there, that gap starts to decrease. So I almost feel like it's a race between my right elbow and left elbow. My right elbow is going to start to speed up to catch my left elbow into the downswing. So there's 4 tips that's going to help you improve your impact position. If there's anything you'd like to see on my channel in future weeks, please comment below of your topic of choice. Also like the video, comment below with what you'd like to see on my channel in future weeks that's going to be customized to your golf game and golf swing.